Biden telling Democrats to stop the drama. He wrote a letter to leaders on Capitol Hill today saying he was staying in the race. The Biden-Harris campaign is stepping up outreach to lawmakers to shore up support. A campaign official confirms to CBS News Biden has made 20 phone calls to congressional members, and additional calls are expected. Joining me live to talk about what this all means for the campaign is Sonoma State political science professor David McCuan. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's a pleasure to join you. Thank you.
All right, the president saying he is staying in the race no matter what. Since the debate, he's been using really every opportunity he can to show voters that the debate was just a bad night. He did an interview with ABC on Friday. Is all of this helping him, do you think?
Well, we've seen some polling data that indicates the race hasn't changed that much, but not in a direction towards Joe Biden. Biden has a strong record. He has an opponent who is problematic. But he hasn't been able to take advantage of that. And that's because the elephant in the room is Joe Biden's age. And the slowness in which he and his team responded to what happened after that debacle of a debate has given everyone pause. So that makes this past weekend and certainly this week hugely important for Biden. This isn't over, and in the sense that he's in the race and he's staying in the race, because every time they come out and talk about that he's staying in the race, there are additional it falls on deaf ears. There are additional people who come out and say, no, this won't work. The worry is what happens down ballot. The worry is the lack of enthusiasm. So by Thursday, Friday, we know what's going on. And that's partly because the Republican debate is next week. And the Democratic convention in Chicago next month is just about upon us.
Right. And Kamala Harris is the VP and on paper looks like the most likely candidate to replace Biden at the top of the ticket, should he step down. But she's not necessarily getting overwhelming support from her own party. Why do you think that is?
There's a couple of elements here. Look, Kamala Harris, as the vice president, has first right of refusal for this nod. If Joe Biden were to leave the race, he would likely take his delegates or encourage his delegates to move towards her. That also helps her. It gets some momentum. But there are some issues there. She's in a more liberal wing of the party, but she's associated with the administration. She does bring out a different type of voter and enthusiasm in the Democratic Party. That may help on the margins, for example, with younger voters or what we call emerging voter blocks. The problem will be she also will serve as a lightning rod, if you will, for Republicans. Gavin Newsom has this problem. Others have this problem in the sense that they will push out Republicans in response. But she gets first right of refusal. And you got to remember kind of the internal politics of the party. You can't become the Democratic nominee or be a successful Democratic candidate for president without huge African-American support, particularly amongst African-American women. So a multiracial candidate from the liberal wing of the party, Kamala Harris, that will be an important component. Others, rivals, don't bring that necessarily to the table should Joe Biden leave the race. It's unclear that he's doing that, but should that happen, Kamala Harris is in that driver's seat.
Now, if Joe Biden were to step aside and VP Harris becomes the nominee, how does that change Donald Trump's strategy in all of this?
It changes his strategy in certain states like Virginia. Virginia is an important state. It's a battleground state, but they start voting on September 20th, earlier than California, which starts about roughly a month before November 5th. And early states like Virginia all of a sudden become into play where Donald Trump has what's called a conversion strategy. Democrats have a base plus plan where someone like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or another candidate is getting the base of Democrats plus additional voters. Donald Trump is converting. And by converting, what he's trying to do is he has a 50-state strategy. That means he wants to go into places like Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Arizona, and try to convert voters that he lost, these double haters we talk about, or the Obama, Trump voters. All that becomes hugely important. And for Trump, that means a 50-state strategy because it's also a strategy that involves a lot of money because they closed the money gap since his conviction in New York.
All right, I want to ask one last quick question. I know it may not have a quick answer, but what about Governor Gavin Newsom? He's been out there stumping for Biden since the debate. How much of that do you think is being a good soldier for his party, and how much of that is just kind of getting his name out there? Should he be called to replace Biden?
Yeah, it's both those things. I mean, look, it is difficult for him it's difficult to see a pathway forward for Gavin Newsom this cycle. But this is also about a future cycle. His term ends in 2026. That gives him plenty of opportunity to direct a new Democratic Party towards 2028. Gavin Newsom is someone and his team, they want to see him as Ronald Reagan. They want to see him as Bill Clinton and Barack Obama leading the Democratic Party in a new place. That's not something that happens with a lot of exposure in a long campaign. That's part of the sizzle or the appeal for him now. But it's hard to see, given all the roadblocks and given some other inertia, particularly of his political cousin, Kamala Harris, the vice president. She would stand in the way for a successful opportunity for Newsom this particular cycle.
All right, we'll be watching. Professor David McCuan, thank you so much for that insight.
Pleasure to join you. Thank you very much.
All right, well, here's Governor Newsom today in New Hampshire, continuing to voice his support for President Biden. He spoke to voters about the importance of this election, reiterating that President Biden is the right man for the job.
People are dialing in, and I'm dialing up. I decided instead of just rolling over and giving up, that I would step up.
Well, this appearance follows stops in Pennsylvania on Saturday and Michigan last week.